Among the changes wrought by the COVID-19 pandemic, there were few as immediate as the rise of remote working. The ability to work from anywhere allowed many companies to reduce their office footprint and save money on real estate costs. Despite these potential benefits, companies found that there were real issues too, from the struggle integrating new employees to simple technological challenges. Businesses found themselves in a world changed overnight.
When the pandemic hit, there's no other word for it, is it? It hit. We've been watching the news and we were following government guidance about what we do, and then there was that fateful night where Boris Johnson said, you need to work from home. We'd been planning for it. And it wasn't that big a challenge for us, it wasn't such a big hurdle, because everybody had equipment that they could use at home. They understood about security from working from home. They understood what they could and they couldn't do from home. We had tools already there, such as Teams, where we could communicate as a team and work as a team. All of our infrastructure is remotely hosted. Many years ago, I once went into a company who said, that's our server in the corner of the room, and then left me in the room. I was horrified. All of ours are in data centres, so there's no worry about that. Our data, we don't have to manage that per se, because you transfer that risk to an organisation whose sole existence is managing infrastructure, managing security, managing internet connections, managing power. So there's a transfer of risk. And so the pandemic for us was a fairly easy transition. The hardest thing in some ways was that the team grew during the pandemic. So I brought on a senior developer that I didn't meet until probably 3 months later, physically.
It was quite amazing through the pandemic to understand how little we knew in regards to the abilities of our staff, especially our non-medical. We have a lot of that information related to our medical workforce, but the non-medical workforce, all we really understand is what someone's band is. So we don't necessarily understand the complexity of their experience or the skills that they have. That leads to a number of things when you go through a pandemic, is that people don't feel valued because people were deployed into areas where they couldn't utilise their skills as they felt that they really could. It also leads to challenges with psychological safety of staff, because some people were deployed into areas where they felt they didn't have the skills and felt unsafe, and therefore there was some harm that occurs due to it. I think our problem has been, when we look at workforce planning, we see people as units of labour. We don't see them as people with potential and as individuals.
The pandemic has shown us that as an organisation we can become and work very agile, and technology is an enabler for that agile working. So my team are really passionate about ensuring that we deliver digital transformation and digital change, because if we enable our users to work anytime, any place, anywhere, then we can offer better customer service.
Within 2 weeks we went from having 800 staff probably who would be working from home at any time to 6,000, and the implication for that for an organisation is huge. Obviously we have lots of workers who are out and about, social workers, highways engineers, that kind of thing, but actually the whole office operation moved from being physically based in Suffolk to based from people's homes, and I think people just accepted the fact that the technology worked. I don't think they really saw what was behind in terms of what made it work.
One trend seen throughout a variety of industries is the pandemic acting as an accelerant on digital transformation, where the need to stay at home forced organisations of every scope and size to update their legacy systems. Across all sectors, business leaders now understood that they needed to make investments in order to keep up with their competitors. Local government was no exception. As it faced the challenge of replacing its IT systems, local authorities across the country were met with a stark choice: either upgrade or be left behind. Like so many other industries, local government have been compelled to modernise. By investing in new technologies and training staff, some have managed to meet this challenge, while others are still struggling.
Good business digital transformation involves really top-to-tail change of the business. And you really want to do it holistically, and you want to do it as quickly as practical. The reason being is that transformation involves change, and change always creates resistance. And if you go too slow, then you never actually get the change, because everyone always gives you a good reason why you can't do it. So if you look at organizations that have had to pivot or have just done it because they need to do it effectively, is they do it relatively quickly. They plan it out carefully. You do think it through right. You try and make sure you know what you're doing, but when you execute it, you do it as fast as you possibly can, because you don't want two different modes of operation going at the same time. You really want to lift and shift from one way of working to the new way of working, and doing it in a very holistic way.
Our budget is over £1 billion, but sort of on local public services we spend about £650 million. We have a range of transformation programmes in Suffolk. Digital transformation is very much part of everything that we do. Now in local government. There's work across our social care teams, there's work across our highways teams. We make great use of technology, the internet, to make public services better for citizens, and that ranges from trying to be more productive and more efficient as an organisation, providing sort of like services electronically over the internet. We have a digital care sort of like range of technology that we use. So digital transformation has really been something that's been part of local government in England over the past sort of like 10 years. We do a lot of work with Blue Prism, and automation has become sort of like something that really does drive efficiency and productivity in the organisation. So we transfer lots of information between systems, and to try and make that as productive and efficient, and to release our staff to do sort of like higher value work. What we really try and do is make the best use of robots to move information. So, for example, one of the things we've been working on is referrals from the police that come in to our organisation. Was taking us probably about 30 minutes for each of these referrals, and it was getting through the referrals was something that was a challenge for our social care teams. Now those referrals are instantaneous, and it go into a social worker's sort of like work file, and it's saving us around 800 to 1,200 of those coming in per month. So you can just imagine the time saving that it gives, and the people who this time is saved, they're able to answer the phone. That's the important thing in terms of the improvement to public services. A lot of work that was done during COVID was about looking at clinically extremely vulnerable people who live within sort of like Suffolk. And that came from a variety of data sets, from the NHS, from local government, from the Department for Work and Pensions. And so digital was really able to identify people who were really isolated, or who were clinically vulnerable, even who might be financially vulnerable.
Our services are going to be far more available online, and that's what the heart of digital transformation is about. But it's about giving our customers choice, and choice anytime, any place, anywhere. And it's about shifting the channels of communication as well. So not just using traditional telephony, it's about using Facebook and Twitter and other social media elements to contact our customers when they want to contact us.
Our customers are no different from ordinary consumers. They want easy ways to report their repairs and easy way to pay their bills. And sometimes we don't think about how that paper and signatures is stopping those transactions. So lots of friction in our legacy processes, and we are looking at how we can help support and change some of those legacy processes.
I think all ages get the fact that digital matters, and certainly the pandemic has accelerated that realisation. There's always resistance, and one of the key bits that we've done is to give them something that they're familiar with. They see. It's not different. They don't have to learn a whole new process in order to do an assessment.
As computing and mobile devices become increasingly sophisticated, the design of everyday software has evolved significantly. A number of factors have contributed to this shift, including the proliferation of touchscreens and growing demand for intuitive user interfaces. But one thing's for certain, the impact of the digital revolution on human-computer interactions has been profound. Just like our ability to process information faster, we've developed a greater appreciation for how computers can simplify tasks. Consequently, we're demanding better experiences, and increasingly, software developers are responding by designing intuitive solutions.
The future of digital transformation, it's embedded in our business. I don't think anybody could envisage not using technology to try and improve public services going forward. I think data is huge for the future. We're doing quite a lot of work at the moment looking at how we share data between organisations, even within our own organisation, how we move data from sort of like one service to another, ensuring all the sort of like the safeguards, the data protection legislation that we have, and making sure that all the permissions are in place. Learning from putting data together, using artificial intelligence, using sort of like robotic process automation, those kind of techniques are something that is growing in the organisation. cybersecurity is something that we're absolutely acutely aware of and focused on at the moment. And then I think it's customer technology at the core of kind of like local government. I think is that we recognise that people probably don't really want to engage with local councils always. They want to be signposted, they want to live their own lives independently. So one of the questions is, how do we use technology to help them do that? How do we signpost them to services that they might find useful, that might keep them safe, healthy, independent for longer? Because it benefits us in terms of cost, but it also benefits them in terms of living their lives. So Suffolk County Council has a number of transformation programmes. So a lot of the work that we do is meeting customer demand, meeting the demand of our residents. So we have projects that look at learning disability and autism, that look at older people, that look at children with special education needs, school travel. So there's a range of transformation going on at any time, in the organisation. And we have two cross-cutting sort of like pieces of work that look at transformation. One is about how we operate as an organisation. We call it commercialism, which is really just making sure that every minute matters and every penny counts. It's public money. And the other one is our digital business. And our digital business is, we deliberately called it our digital business because it's not just about digital. It's about how we use technology and the internet to deliver our business, which is public services. So that's what we do in terms of transformation. And within there, there's lots of work on cybersecurity. There's lots of work on customer flow. There's lots of work about how we provide digital care technology to our residents. So we have a service called Cassius, which is all about providing sensor technology, in people's homes where they want it, to enable families to stay in touch. So there's a whole range of sort of like transformation going on in the organisation at any one time.
People are using digital technology at home in their everyday lives. Clinicians, people in the NHS are always on an everyday basis using it. So therefore, why are we not translating that into our working practices? And people are, and they're finding ways to do that. What we've done through the Digital Skills Passport is actually accelerated that. We've actually taken note of how people in their everyday lives want to use technology and how it enhances their lives. And we've taken that into people's professional lives. And there are many elements as to why people like digital. It's because of the accessibility. It's because of the fact that it can be quite user-friendly. It's because they can get a lot of information very quickly. And it's because you can share information and transfer information very easily. So I think it's taking all of the affordances of digital technology that we're using in our everyday lives and making sure that we take those affordances and put them to use within healthcare. A lot of the systems, the platforms and IT systems that currently exist in healthcare have not necessarily always been built by the user. And so what the advantages that we've seen through working with Axia is that we've worked with them, with the digital experts, with the end user, and with the clinical and educational expertise, and brought those together to really be able to take this technology to another level and make sure that it is something that people can see has the same benefit as when they're using their phone, and the same benefit as when they're using any other sort of PC or digital kind of platform.
It's a bit of a generalisation, but a lot of our staff are quite young, and so it felt really intuitive, and that's the way that they work. I think the fact that they could do it on their phones was really important. So some of our digital learning management systems are PC based and a bit slow and clunky. This is sort of, in many ways, actually things on phones are really intuitive for staff. Nobody has to have an instruction manual for how to work an iPhone. And therefore, most of the staff found it very intuitive.
The regulator for social housing has recently given us a little bit of a heads-up warning around our data integrity and our data security. And at the same time, they've launched a consultation into how we should measure satisfaction as perceived by residents. So it's important to the regulator, and it's important to the sector and our customers. What we are doing is thinking about the skills required, the platforms required, and how we use that data to give us useful and used information.
Customers will benefit from this new working model as part of the rise of something called the 30-minute neighbourhood. And this is a recognition that people no longer want to travel huge distances, but also that people want services provided more local to where they live. It means that our colleagues who are scattered across God's own county of Yorkshire are able to get to our customers quicker. They're more likely to know those customers because they will live more locally. But it also means that from our customers, they're able to receive a much wider service offer than we've ever previously been able to offer to them.
I joined social housing about 15 years ago, and it was clear from day one the most important factor in social housing was people. People who care about people who care about customers. So it's not surprising that people are not particularly interested in technology, but it is important. Energy performance, great customer services and digital inclusion all are things that our customers think are important. We think that collaboration is incredibly important in this sector, and the more that we can work together on digital solutions, the more it will benefit our customers. So in almost everything we do, we've got a collaborative element. Every third Friday, we are holding breakfast briefings where we ask the best from the sector to tell us what they're doing and share with the rest of the sector what's happening in their organisation. And those are really well attended. They're free and open to everyone. Secondly, we're running the Yorkshire ICT Managers Network, having some great discussions there too. And one of the things that we've done with that group and others is develop a good ICT governance framework and assessment. That has helped organisations to understand how they integrate their IT governance into their day-to-day governance.
So one of the more innovative pieces of technology we've been using recently at Yorkshire Housing is drones, and I've got one flying around me right now. And the reason that we've used drones is, first of all, from a customer point of view, it reduces the inconvenience for them. Instead of having scaffolding around their homes when we need to inspect, for example, roof spaces, we're able to just quickly and easily put a drone up, take some really high quality camera footage and identify what the problem is. The second reason is that from a cost point of view, it's much cheaper to get an experienced pilot to fly a drone up rather than have scaffolding, which costs about £500 to put up. You've got your daily rental and then about another £500 to take it back down again. And then thirdly, but just as importantly, is the safety aspect. Use of drone technology has meant that we've been able to reduce the amount of time that colleagues are working at height and all the associated risks that go with that.
With so much of our daily lives moving online, it should come as no surprise that digital technology plays a vital role in keeping us safe and secure. From protecting against cyber attacks to preventing identity fraud, data protection is at the heart of what we do. And as we move towards a fully connected future, the importance of digital security will only increase. This isn't just important to individuals, companies rely on it too, allowing them to identify threats and protect their assets. In order to protect themselves from the threats posed by hackers and cybercriminals, organisations must update their security measures. Now, almost everyone has taken steps to protect their digital devices against malware and viruses.
Another subject that perhaps is a little bit dry, IT governance and risk management is important. Actually, the sector is really good at governance and risk management, but technology governance is something new. It's not just about the risks of data and cyber threats. It's more widespread, looking at procurement, project management and the performance of our systems. So it's something that we've been looking at really closely in trying to get the language of technology understood and less fearful for those that are not technology centric.
We want to ensure that we get this right, so we've spent the last 18 months really building a solid foundation. So we've been working hard in the background to ensure that our back-end systems are up to date and modern. So we've been working with our colleagues in HR, in procurement, in finance to ensure that they're using a modern system that's really fit for purpose. That foundation really helps to provide an agile service from IT so that our customers get the maximum choice when it comes to our digital offering. Our digital aspirations are very simple. We want to try and deliver high quality digital services to our customers and give our employees the best tools to do their job. The digital and technology strategy is built around those principles.
Technology itself, robotic process automation, it sounds a bit scary coming into the organisation, but and from working with a local council, I think is sometimes quite an interesting experience in terms of procurement regulations and that kind of thing. But actually it's been mutually beneficial, and we've seen huge benefits in terms of efficiency and productivity across the organisation. So a lot of the stuff that we've done with Blue Prism has been sort of about getting departments to work together, taking information from one space, put it into another. So we've done a huge amount of work between our legal team and our advertising team, where we have to advertise legal notices, and lots of staff putting in information into different systems where we've been able to use RPA to do that. And the manager in our advertising team was so sort of convinced it's the future that he now heads up the robotic process automation team. And it's great to have somebody who's kind of got an interest in technology but maybe isn't a technologist leading that work, because they really see the benefit to staff, the benefit to the customer first, and then the use of technology, which is really important. I think that digital transformation is not something to be scared of. I think that the term digital transformation, I know our staff, I think that's a really difficult term to land with staff.
There's a lot of AI coming around the corner it's already here, but it's all kind of on the early adoption curve. That's making all that work even better. So when we look at a screen, we don't just see a square with a login. We see that it tends to be next to certain other things, tends to appear at certain places at certain times, and we can always work it out that is the login button. That's what the new AI is doing. It's much more humanistic in terms of the intelligence. And the other bit where it's going is that unified workforce. If I'm going to have humans and robots communicating all the time, how do I design those interfaces in a way that your average sort of just operational manager can maintain and write? So there's a whole area of technology called no code. And what it's referring to is that you don't have to code to create applications. And this is really, really important in this context, because it means that your average, local government manager can build these interfaces, can maintain those interfaces, and can manage robots as if they were humans, in the sense that if I'm going to be passing a bunch of health applications back and forth between humans and robots, those interfaces are written by the managers, they're maintained by those managers, and they can manage the whole process like they were before. And that's the kind of critical mass where this really explodes and takes off.
Everybody's worried about their data. It's so high profile. There have been so many incidents in recent years. And to be honest, with all the things that are going on in the world at the moment, it's going to become more and more high profile. There are certain organisations that are going to be a higher target for hackers, particularly wanting to get into data. So one thing that we avoid at all costs is we don't handle any payment information, no bank accounts, no credit cards, because in our opinion we hold some very sensitive data, but I don't want to raise my head up higher to say he's got that data or they've got that data, let's go and have a go at that because we're interested in it. What we hold is interesting for social engineering, because we hold a lot of information across, if you look at radiographers, so we have radiographers in the United Kingdom, we have the radiographer professional body in Ireland, and we also have the New Zealand radiographers as well. That was an interesting project, working in 3 different time zones at the same time. But data security, the data we hold is interest of other people, and so you have multi-layers. So as an organisation, you embrace standards, so ISO 27001. Until about 3 years ago, we'd always aligned ourselves, and because the company's grown over the last few years, we've realised that we needed to go, and we now have the standard. What the standard does is it puts process in place, and it puts audit in place, and it makes sure that you've got the rigour in your day-to-day operations, that the first thing you're thinking about is data security. We drill into the developers, always think security first. Always think, is that your data? If that was your data, would you be happy with what you've just done with it? And that makes them think about that. And then you have layers of protection of your environment itself. So you will have something at your first line of defection is some kind of intrusion detection or protection system. So this is a bit of kit that its only job is there to stop horrible people getting at your stuff. And it will block 9 times out of most things. And most people, if they come across them, will just go away because it's just too much hard work. But the dedicated person who really wants what you've got, they'll find a way through. And then your next layer then really is your own application, your own code. So you have specialist software set at the front where, like a web application firewall, that stops 99% of the horrible stuff that you don't want to get to you. But if somebody manages to bypass that and get to it, then it's your own code, and you put everything in there that you can. You sanitize content, you remove the ability for people to put things in. One of the challenges of the type of thing that we do is that we empower people to create content. So most of our content is user created. So people write things about their career. When you empower people to do that, you also open up in some ways a vulnerability in your own right, because in actual fact you give the end user the right to write to your database. And so if you get through the firewall, then we sanitize things, we clean things up. Anything that we think is really critical, then we encrypt. One-way encryption, some passwords, that kind of stuff as well. And so it's on a case-by-case basis that we can do different levels, but always our first line is our WAF, our second line is our code, and then the third line is your staff as well, because so many breaches have been somebody doing something stupid as a member of staff. So we tightly control who access that level of server, who has that level of access, and we follow procedures. And the team understand security. We talk about it all the time. It's one of the things we always talk about is security.
The importance of digital transformation cannot be ignored. It will continue to shape our world into the foreseeable future. There are concerns that this could lead to increased isolation within society, but such fears shouldn't stop us from embracing change. As technology improves, so does human capacity. We can build bigger things, faster, with better results. And digital transformation is going to play an integral part in that process.